All right, welcome to Sub 2 Stories, Tales of the Real Estate Investor. Vanessa, hello, how are you today?
I'm doing real good. How are you?
It's Friday. I
Yeah.
love Fridays.
Are you a busy work week guy?
I try to smash as much as I can into the work week.
Okay.
I know that, some people say, like, you got to work on the weekends if you want to succeed. And yes, you're right. But also, I have to set boundaries because I need time by myself
Yeah,
and not to stare at a computer screen. So I try to set boundaries.
for sure.
Awesome. So I want to hear, and the whole objective of Sub 2 Stories is to really learn about your story as a real estate investor. And I want this to start at a place that is like, it could be either good or bad, but just like in a movie or a book, just plop us into somewhere in your life that you're like, this was a pivotal moment, or this was like a thing that I want to share with people, and just paint us a story in a spot, and then we'll kind of walk backwards a little bit in time, and then we'll walk forwards, and we'll just drop us in somewhere.
Okay. I'll probably drop you in like 8, 9 years ago. And
Okay,
I haven't been investing that long.
cool.
I've only recently, within the last 2.5 years, been interested in real estate. Um, but about 8 or 9 years ago, my husband and I were in our 20s, quite a bit young, and we were living in we live rurally in Minnesota, and we lived in a very small, tiny house. Our mindset was very sustainable. What's the word? Doing everything you have to do for yourself. So, like, we wanted to do homesteading type stuff,
Nice.
and not so much work and uh, build up cash. That was, we were very kind of, I have gone through 180 in my mindset on money and capitalism and whatever, but we were very anti-capitalist, and
Okay.
we were trying to cut our own wood with a saw and put it in the wood stove in the winter and grow all our own food and being very that way. And it was really hard. And the more kids we added to the story, the harder it became. Like, we didn't have running water. We were hand pumping our water, carrying it in
Nice.
buckets. We were going to take all of our energy and just build up do our own thing by the sweat of our brow.
Wow.
And yeah, and we were intense about it. Like it was like a religion to us. Um, as time went on, reality that we were living was not matching up with our ideals. We weren't actually we weren't better off because we were being isolationists and doing it all by ourselves. And then we were really broke, super broke, because I wanted my husband home with me all the time, and I didn't want him to be out working, and we needed to be home focusing on our house. Anyway, uh, eventually, through many trials and a lot of pain being broke, and what that actually this experience of that is, I started getting more into finance, trying to learn, like, what are we doing wrong? What's the problem here? I think I started with like Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich, and that would have been about like 6 years ago or so, 7 years ago. And I was just getting new ideas that I hadn't had before. And that's really where the change started to happen. And that's when I started some businesses. I've always not been able to hold down a job personally myself. I can't do it. Not a job. Okay. I can go out of my way and make personal customers that I'm working with happy, but employers, I just can't. I can't do that. It's not my thing. So I've started some businesses, and a lot of those failed. I mean, I was just trying new things. And then our mindset really started changing. And then Grant Cardone, with the whole, he's really good for motivation and mindset and making you like really like take a look at your situation and be like, nah, this isn't this is we can't tolerate this anymore. So, like, he was good for that, like the whole mindset thing. Yeah, so then we decided we were going to start actually worrying about our money and trying to accumulate money, because not having money sucked so bad. It's so stressful, and it's way more stressful than working really hard for money. So it's harder to be broke than it is to be a workaholic trying to make cash, because we've come from the bottom. So I know that, like, when people say, oh, it's not all about getting rich, and oh, you don't want to waste all your time in life trying to make money. And I mean, sure, but I mean, you do not want to experience being poor, because poor sucks and it's hard. So now we focus on how we're building and how we're growing and learning new skills and being relevant to other people, and creating value enough to be compensated for the contribution that we do. Like, we're trying to figure it out. We were not raised to figure out like and understand ourselves in the full picture of actually commerce and working with other people and how to do that. And actually how capitalism is super duper good for everybody involved. Sure, people do bad things all the time. Whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. On the whole, we are doing so much better around the world because of capitalism. So we were anti-capitalist, and now we're like way the other way, which is like the story of my life, by the way. I'm extreme. I'm either over here or I'm over there, and I do the big leaps. So just a quick example. I used to be vegetarian for 8 years, PETA all the way, protests, and now I'm a carnivore. So I switch it up and I go extreme. But anyway, okay, sorry. So this is a long rant. So then real estate. When I was trying to learn about real estate and figure out how to get my in, because like I said, we didn't have anything. We had no money. And I've heard just briefly, when you're being exposed for the first time ever to real estate, and they're like, buy this apartment building for no money, and you don't know any of the lingo yet. You don't, what does any of this mean? Buy in these markets. I'm like, markets? What's a market? I live in like 2,000 population Minnesota. What are we talking, like St. Louis? How am I going to go buy a house in St. Louis? Anyway, that was just like, it's overwhelming when you go to YouTube and you start learning about real estate. But anyway, let's see. So fast forward, many kids later, it's my father-in-law has property here. It's a family, old family, established farm. And he finally decided, he's 80 something. He finally decided to sell us the farm. And that comes with like 100 acres. Also kind of on the farm is a house that he owned, and he was going to sell that. And we decided to work with him and buy that contract for deed. And it's a 4.5 bedroom house. It's right across the field. Like I said, we're in the farm area over here. And so we bought that, and we rented it out room by room to some bachelors. And that was our first real step into becoming investors, landlords, and figuring out operations for real estate, or, rentals. And it's been really good. It's been awesome. And that was our start. And there, I'll leave that there. That's a lot of information to digest.
Okay. So you started your story with extreme homestead-isms, which is awesome. I love it. I've lived in the woods before. I know what it's like to have to go get your water every day and carry food on your back. Like,
yeah,
you just got to make it happen, right? There's no two ways about it. It's a very simple life, but it is also a very difficult life. And I'm curious as to, you take that bubble of time that you did that and you left because you were like, that was fun, see you later. How has that shaped you and your husband in this capitalism bubble that you now live in?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have to constantly check ourselves to make sure we're not going back into a mindset of scarcity and isolationism. And we eschewed all the conveniences of modern living. Really, like we heated our house with a wood stove. We didn't have any other form of heat for a long time. We were bare minimum people. And that's deeply ingrained in us still. So whenever we're thinking about spending money on any kind of material thing that's going to make our life easier in one way or another, we have to just do the thing. We don't have to think so deeply. We're really philosophical and whatever. So we really had to just try to take like this idea of it's not immoral to have running water or to make sure that like we have the things in our life that we need, like another computer, or it's all the things. It's hard we really kept ourselves away from things that would make our life easier. I don't know why. I mean, like I said, it was our religion at one point because we didn't have another religion. We were not Christian at the time. We are now. And that actually has helped us be more capitalistic, actually. So yeah. So thinking back to when we didn't spend money on things and when we wouldn't invest, when you're poor, you don't invest. So every dollar is so super important. And you're thinking about that dollar for like, you're just like your own survival. And we're not, I mean, we're better off financially now because of just changing our mindset. And it's not immoral to us anymore to become materialistically well off. So as I think like the mindset changes, but we need to make sure that we're not keeping ourselves away from spending money to make money. Because back then you just spent money to quickly pay a bill or to put a little gas in your tank and hopefully get to where you're going because you didn't have that much. I don't know if that makes sense. So trying not to fall back into that limited space. And we're doing pretty good at that. My husband and I are different. He takes a lot longer to change than I do. So I'm like immediately like, oh, we're doing this now. And then it's like, he's got to catch up. So I have to talk about mindset a lot with him. Like, no, we need to spend this much money for the license, this much money for the application. We need to spend this much money for the website. We just have to do that now. And so far, that's the way it's actually our mindset and our reality now are getting closer since we've implemented these changes in how we do things and how we think about things. Does that answer your question?
I think it does. I still have some more questions, right? Because I'm still trying to tie the two together, like homesteading and that lifestyle. And now it's like it's okay to buy things, right? To make life easier, but it's really a conscious deliberation.
Yeah.
When buying something, like, do I need this thing? How will it help me? Will it help me for today, tomorrow? Will I still be using it 6 months from now?
Yeah.
If yes, I'm going to buy it. That I relate to very deeply. So how did you get to real estate? Like you got into real estate because of your family, right? You had the opportunity to buy some land and some property. You did some by the room rental situation. There's a story there.
Yeah, it's like I said, and I forget some things sometimes. So hopefully as we talk, maybe something will like, oh yeah, this one thing. But really, it was just living in poverty conditions for so long and me being really at a desperation, like really living like our situation was not good. Actually, okay, my very, very, very first experience as a landlord so we had a little tiny shack in a 5-acre, well, it's actually like a 40-acre field. We had a little tiny shack in a 40-acre field. And we were going to move to a bigger city in Minnesota. And we did. We've moved to Duluth a couple of times. Well, this is the time we were going to go to Duluth so my husband could get his education finish up his degree in biology. All right. So we needed to get out of here. So we rented out our house to some friends. or our little tiny shack in the field. It's a shack. Well, these friends ended when we came back a year or more later to move back here. They had destroyed our house completely. I'm talking spray paint on walls. Every single window except one had been broken, and there was boards on our house. It was trashed, and we had 2 kids at this point. So we came back to this house, and it was just horrible. And we were still broke, and we were moving into a house that we could not fix. We didn't have any money to fix it up. Sweat of our brow, fine, but we didn't have materials to fix it. Like, we could have done that, but we couldn't actually buy anything. I think at like our lowest that year when we came back, my husband made, and it was because of our mindset and what we were doing with our lives. He only made $9,000 that year. Nice. And we had 2 kids and a baby on the way. Wow. And a house that was devastated. So that was my actual first experience with real estate, now that I'm talking. So then there was desperation at this point. We are so broke. I can't afford gas to get to like the hospital because I was having like this weird condition happen to me. And I was pregnant. So just the day in, day out of really not having money was wearing on me the most, because I was home with the kids. My husband would go out to work and whatnot. But like my husband was like communist minded, and so was I. So we were just living the fruits of that, by the way. The fruits of communism, not good. Like, really rough out there. So really day in, day out desperation. I needed to figure out, I'm not going to go work for somebody. I mean, I've tried a couple of times. I've done, and I do okay. I'm actually an overperformer, but I just get tired of mismanagement, disorganization, and always feeling like I know better. And I know that's a problem, obviously, but just like my analytical skills is like, I can't do this nonsense anymore. So I leave, because I feel like my time is going to be better spent at least at home with my kids or doing something different. So I really looked into starting a business, something I could do from home and make money. So I think that's where real estate started coming into the picture. It was because, you know, it's sold on YouTube as a way to make cash and become wealthy. So I was like, oh, I don't know anything about wealth, and I don't know how to get wealthy. People are talking about real estate, and then there's business. And I know you have to do, and now, in my opinion, personally, I think you need to do both. You can't really invest in real estate while you're broke. Sure, you can go and get other people's money, do the operations and do that, but there's so little to skim off of. That doesn't really support you, and that's really not a good cash flow. So I'm learning that recently too, that baby, don't just, you need to have a skill that you can capitalize on, whether it's your W-2 or business, whatever it is, but you need cash flow. And then you need to push that to real estate and build that up. And eventually you can live off your real estate cash flow, but you can't just like, oh, I've got one house over here with 4 rented rooms, and now that's all my income I need. In fact, your expenses increase, obviously. They increase so much sometimes that you don't even account for that, and that all your extra net is not necessarily net, because you're probably not putting enough away for maintenance on that building. Anyway, so I agree. Real estate, I think it's honestly just, my endeavors on YouTube. I was just at home trying to figure things out, and Amazon books, like I said. So just trying to figure out, how do I not be poor anymore while still maintaining, at that time, I really wanted to hold on to my ideals. And that's hard to rectify or like reconcile those two. Make money, become wealthy. Don't ask for help. Don't provide value for other people. Only solely focus on building up your own little existence here. And those things just do not go together. So we're learning how to be valuable to the marketplace and relevant now.
Amazing. Okay. So I just see this transformation happening from going back to Homestead to now. Like, I want to know, you told me before that there's this thing that you're coming out of. You're a mushroom blasting out of the decaying thing that happened, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about what happened, right? Because I am interested in, I'm going to call them mistakes, right? Lessons, whatever they are, they're things that bring us down as people emotionally, and it's okay. It's normal to be down. It's okay to have our expectations not met. So I really like to explore those, normalize them, smile about them, and say, okay, that's happening.
Mhm.
I'm okay with this. So would you be okay with sharing that with us, whatever this is?
Sure. Like, okay, can you clarify your question specifically?
Yeah, before the meeting, you said there was something that had happened.
Oh, yes, recently. My
Yes, this
recent
thing.
down, my recent
Yeah,
down with real
let's
estate. Okay. Yeah,
let's
my
hear it.
recent down with real estate is really essentially this last April, we there's a parsonage for sale on by an old church down our road about, I don't know, 8 miles or so. And they were selling the parsonage, but it had to be moved. And so we've got lots of acres, and we decided to partition off 5 acres and move the house out to our property. So it's an old, like 1800s house, late 1800s. It's got like 5 bedrooms, only 1 bath. It used to be a schoolhouse, and a lot of the older people in our area are like attached to that place because they went to the church that it was a parsonage to. Anyway, so we bought it for $10,000 and had it moved out here onto 5 acres. And we were gonna fix it up a little bit. We put in a new basement, made sure the basement was nice, and we were going to essentially flip it, but it's a little bit more extreme than just a flip, because we actually had to move it out and put a new foundation, and we had to get the electric out and the well and the septic and all of that. So there was just a lot of coordination involved, and I actually love doing that stuff, making the plan, doing the scheduling and the organizing and whatnot. So I did great with that, and we were going to fix it up enough, but not make it fantastic. We just need to put enough money into it that somebody would see some potential, and then they would come in, and it would be somebody like a homesteader would come and take it over and fix it up to their preference. Well, I mean, once you start getting into the walls, you find out that, you need to redo all the electric, and the upstairs actually really needs to be gutted, and this, that, and the other. And so it adds up. And then you're like, oh, my budget is wearing down. Oh, I didn't take into account that thing and that thing that was coming up. And that came up a lot. I can't even name it all, but it was just like, oh, watching the account dwindle. And I'm like, okay, well, and my husband was doing a lot of the work on it. And he is so dutiful. But he's not fast. He's not a fast carpenter or construction guy. He'll do a really good job, but it takes forever, which is good, because in the past he didn't do a good job and it took forever, but now he does a good job and it takes forever. But
Amazing.
yeah, so it was taking a long time, and he has a harder time parsing out, like, where do I go next? Who do I ask to do this? And also asking for help from the right people. Anyway, we're into this now for way too long. And we had to borrow money, borrow more money from the bank, had to borrow money from my father-in-law just to pay our bills now, because I mean, that's like, we've got a loan out on this thing. Oh yeah, we got a construction loan out on this. So we had to pay that monthly. And we were way over leveraged, we're insolvent, and it's just getting very stressful. Yeah. And we still weren't able to completely finish it with the cash we had left. So I'm really angry. I get really angry if the results aren't top, and they were not top. I'm just feeling like we're treading water, and it became very stressful. I mean, it's just across the field from us, so it's right there. So I get to see it, and I'm like, it's not done. It's not done. Anyway, one of our renters, who has been renting from us since we started the rental house over here, I thought maybe he wants to buy it. And he doesn't have good credit. He doesn't have a down payment. So sub 2, I joined in November, and I learned, maybe maybe we can offload this property, at least don't be hemorrhaging money on it anymore. Give this guy a chance to buy something creatively. And Monday, just this last Monday, we signed a lease option.
Nice.
Yes, I'm so excited. And it has to be a lease option because initially we were going to do a sub to seller finance hybrid on it, but I was going back through my the loan paperwork we just got, because we just refinanced it into a proper mortgage, and it's not construction anymore.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but I was going back through the paperwork, and I found, this kind of just I missed this. This is a business loan essentially.
Oh.
They gave us a business loan for the property because I told them we were going to rent it out. Well, yeah. So it does very specifically say in the business loan, we cannot even infer any other interest to that property at all, period, without writing. And now it does say something different in my personal house mortgage. It doesn't say that. And so I'm like, I can't conscientiously do that and maybe breach my contract with the bank by offering it sub 2 at this point. So he was okay with doing the lease option instead, and I really built in, because at first he thought he was just buying it and we were doing a contract for deed essentially with the sub 2 involved. But because I had to change, I made sure to put in the lease option that this lease option can be reissued in another year in exactly the same manner it's written here, minus a couple of little contingencies I put in there. So he can actually have that lease option continue for 7 years, but it's only written on a year-to-year basis. But then it feels like I didn't totally misrepresent the contract for deed for him now that he doesn't have any real tie to the deed at all, because he's not purchasing it now.
Right.
As contract for deed. Anyway, and he seemed to like it, and I think everything is going to work out with this, and we just don't have to pay the bank anymore for that house. And we get a good neighbor. He's a good dude. He can snowplow. He snowplows for us. So
plus, that's a plus.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you took your. I'm just going to come back to this homestead, right? You took your homestead roots, and you were like, I love this old property. I can't let this thing go to waste. And I see that as being the homestead version of you and your husband looking at something old and wanting to reuse it because it still has a lot of value. And you're like, bring it over here, plop it down. And then you realize what the inherent cost of plopping that thing on your land actually was. And you went down into a hole.
Yeah.
Not even financially, just emotionally.
Yeah.
Because every day you had to look at that thing when you wake up to say, hello, sunshine. And there's a house there now that wasn't ever there that's sucking you dry emotionally.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's quite a journey. And just to hear the blood, sweat, and tears that you both have put into it, and now you have someone in there with the power of sub 2 and all its knowledge.
Yeah.
You're not having to give it back to the bank. Who knows? That may have been a thing, right?
Could have been. Yeah, it got hairy. I'm just so glad because really, truly, if it wasn't for sub 2, I wouldn't have known how to structure that unconventionally at all. Yeah, I would have just felt totally stuck with it, or we would have sold it for less. And because we didn't finish it completely. By the way, if it would have been finished completely, it would have sold for way more than we gave. His name's Austin. It's okay if I say his name. I'm sure y'all don't know him. We gave him a deal on it, but it would have sold for way more had we just done a couple of things that weren't even that much more money, but for some reason the time was not lining up properly and we couldn't, it's down to the day as far as hemorrhaging money on this thing. No, we really honestly can't keep this for 2 more weeks just to finish a floor. maybe finish the floor, but like that's the thing, that the timeline got pushed back so much. So
Wow.
lease options, in our case, I think was the absolute best thing we could have done. It helped us not lose money. At the end of the day, when all said and done, I mean, we didn't get any down payment or payout for this, because actually he still has work to do over there. It's not finished. He's putting in his time to fix the house up still and make it livable. So, I mean, that makes sense that we would sell it to him less than market rate.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't make money. We didn't totally lose money, but we're not getting our payout portion of that until he's able to buy it outright from us. So it's deferred. We're not going to be getting, we got no cash in our pockets. And that's a bummer.
It is. But, it sounds like you learned a lot. And
Yeah.
my question is, if you were to summarize all that, what would you tell someone, maybe not specifically about your project in general, but like blindly, what would you tell someone about real estate and getting into it, and just some advice? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it of course depends on who is asking me and their situation. But I would just say, timeline, time and cash. Make sure you have an abundant amount of cash. If you're doing a flip, so this is a flip particularly, make sure you have a ton of cash. Make sure you can, I don't know, for me, I guess for us, we'd have to, if I looked at another project like this again and I was like, oh, easy, that's a 2-month project, I might as well just times that by, I don't know, 5, maybe more, just to account for that. Same with the money. When you think it's going to be this, yeah, 5x everything. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Also, it's different up here. We're rural. We're very rural. We are a tourist area because we're right in all the lakes. So the people that actually live here are more like service oriented people and who can buy your house. We don't have a rental market, not hardly anything. And I mean, like the closest town is 25 miles. The closest town with like 10,000 population of people is 25 miles. So it's just different up here. Like, whereas if we would have done this in the city, it might have been better. Plus, that's another thing. When you're doing these things rural, you have to think about the labor. Who's going to actually do the things? An electrician up here, good luck. You're 6 months out on an electrician. It's so hard to get people to come and do the work. And then if you get somebody to come and do the work, just like, like the oddball stuff, like, I don't know, like putting in studs and whatnot, that kind of thing. Good luck who you're going to get. These, like, they don't like, it's not everybody, of course, but sometimes they just don't know what to do. Actually, they don't know how to do it, and they misrepresent themselves, or they take forever and then they do a bad job. I don't know. It's just who's going to do the job. You want to make sure you're in an area where people are available and willing and actually excited to do the job that you hired them to do. Our HVAC guy, awesome, amazing, super great, thank goodness. But everybody else,
Okay. I hear you loud and clear. So overestimate everything and really vet and understand who's doing the work.
Oh, for sure. That's huge. That's the whole, the work alone, that the execution is all about, like, how much, like, if it takes forever, you're spending money. For every month it takes, for every day it takes, that's more money out the window to float the loan for the thing. Now, not everybody goes that route. Some people have private money and whatever. I'm just, from our experience, if you're going to take out a construction loan or private money lending, you need to be paying that every month, generally, unless you have an amazing, awesome deal. Yeah.
Cool. So what's next?
Yeah. What's next?
Like
That's a great question.
you've got some businesses, you said, is like you were talked about that in the beginning, having some money, cash flow that helps fund the real estate investment. Like where are you going with this? Like what's your plan?
Well, we need to build up the businesses in order to get that cash flow. So my husband works W-2 right now, and he keeps us floating that way. I'm building up my bookkeeping business that I do remotely from home. So I'm working on that. I am figuring out, I actually don't mind, like, because I'm a enthusiastic future thinking person. So I got tons of ideas, and I usually start most of them, but a lot of them don't come to completion. I'm just kind of like hyper into it. But I will tell you, I am excited that I have been working, figuring out how to get a loan servicing license. So I can do loan servicing for sub-2 or people doing creative deals that need a third party to help organize the payment and fulfill the contract of the two parties as far as payments go, you know. So that's something I'm working on. My husband is a real estate agent. He became a real estate agent a year ago.
Nice.
Our markets, yeah, it's very interesting. Like I said, so rural. But everybody that lives around the lakes, those are people like the weekend cabin owners. Anyway, so I'm just trying to give you a little snapshot of where we live. And we still live on our acreage. So we have a goose.
Nice.
I've cut down on how many chickens we have because they're just not worth it. I mean, get a cow. Cows are so much bigger and easier to deal with than chickens, honestly. So we've got some cattle that we have out there eating grass. And yeah, we're looking into using our land a little differently. We've in the past, we did a CSA. We grew food for people. We did that. But now, I don't know. I'm pretty excited about a new thing. And again, because I'm excited about something, I'm going to share it with you anyway. So in Minnesota, cannabis just became legal.
Nice.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of acres, and we're going to be able to potentially meet a market demand. So I'm in the deep dive right now, doing all the studying on regulations, growing, and all of that. So, and if not cannabis, then hemp. Like that's another idea that I've just started working on that I'm super enthusiastic about.
They just passed it for recreation, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
They'll start issuing those cultivator license and all the other licenses that are going to go along with that, I believe, early 2025. So it gives me some time to really work on it. We've got the land, we've got a tractor, we've grown a lot in the past, so we know how to generally, grow some things. Yeah, so that's that right now. That and the loan servicing business are my two that I'm working on. And I've tried to cut down, just focus on one thing. No, I'm not going to do it. I don't care if it's not as amazing as it could be. I just need that difference, with the variety.
You've got your pumpkin patch. You cut down all the other pumpkins that suck, and you're just watching your two pumpkins. That's it. You can take care of them. That's
right.
enough.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, we used to have goats. We had to get rid of goats. Like that's too much. So it's like finding the actual truly valuable thing. That's hard because there's so much. Like, and I don't want to make a pittance anymore. So I don't want to focus on smaller. For me personally, I'm not just like a what is it called? A self-employed person. It needs to be bigger than that. It needs to be a business. Other people need to eventually be involved. Although I work better independently, I know that I am not, I need other people to do the day in, day out of the actual job at hand, if that makes sense. Yeah. So knowing what to cut out, knowing what not to pursue is big. And that's hard because I pursued so many, but I've learned a lot. I did e-commerce for a while, tried to get two products on Amazon. And now I've got 1,000 baby teethers and 1,000 little silicone toys that I'm trying to get on Amazon. That's a whole nother story. It's hard to get your products on Amazon properly.
Yes, it is. It is. Awesome. So from 0, which is today, and 6 months from now, if I don't talk to you, what can I hold you accountable to do to get to your 6-month goal? So what is your 6-month goal, and what are you going to do every day to get there?
Well, keep working on the businesses, obviously. I need that cash flow. I need something that brings in cash flow every month on my end. I want to JV and probably do the operations end of multifamily. So mostly I'm interested in seller financing on that. I guess I would do sub 2 as well, and create and seller finance to get a multifamily, but I would need to bring in a money partner on that. So I love operations, so I could do that. So I want, let's just say, let's call it, I don't even actually know if that's no, for a 6-month goal, that's not my goal. My goal for 6 months is building up my business with my husband, and I have money to lend. I have a little bit of money to lend. I'm trying to get into lending, transactional lending for, under $10,000.
Cool.
That's so in 6 months, I really want to have lent and gotten a return by then. So
okay.
That's primarily it. And eventually, because to go back to what I said earlier, I need to really build up the cash flow before I start shoving everything into real estate. But now I'm turned on to seeing deals and to analyzing deals. And if something really good comes my way, I wouldn't hesitate to try to lock that into a contract and get somebody to JV on the project with me.
I love it, especially with a real estate agent as a husband.
Yes.
Very, very helpful.
Yeah, that does help.
So, all right, I'm really gonna help hone you in. I know you didn't ask for it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So your goal is to make money with your business, right? So that your 6 months goal is to make $10,000, let's say. I know you said from lending, but I think making $10,000 to then lend out sounds like a good goal. Am I on the?
Yeah.
Maybe 5, I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
What are the day-to-day measurable things that you're going to do to build your third-party servicing company?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that look like? So that every day you wake up, you're like, yep, did that. Next day, yep, did that.
Yeah. So the third-party lending, obviously, I need to get licensed. So I get up and I'm making calls. I'm going over statutes to make sure I'm actually applying for the correct license. They make that really confusing. There's so many different licenses all across the USA, the different states. Anyway, so really just trying to discern and make sure that I'm pursuing the right licensure is a big deal. So I've been yesterday I was on the phone with the Department of Commerce, building up a website, because that's how primarily people are going to interact with a third-party loan servicing company. I still need to file the LLC. So paperwork, just the structure of it. And then the big deal is going to be marketing. So I just got to really focus on building the system, the platform, and then letting people know about it. Yeah. So day in, day out, just build up that platform. I get hyper focused on things, and I'm really productive one day, whereas the next day, because I was super productive, all of our dishes are dirty. So the next day I've got to actually wash dishes and focus on laundry and all of that. Because in the mix of all this, I do have 6 kids at home, and that is a humongous juggling act.
Sure.
Yeah. And by the way, 3 of them are 1, 2, 3. That's really difficult.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't
Understood.
I don't have family help or anything right now. 2 of them do go to daycare 2 days a week, which is amazing, but still, I mean, that's only, and I still have some at home while those ones are at daycare, by the way. So it's I'm never just having time to consistently focus. Although I do make sure I don't use that as an excuse. I will throw that kid there and throw that one there, and I'll lock my door and I'll really hone in on the job, but I can't do that as much as I really want to. So
are you able to commit a block of time every day? I know it's probably not going to be 9 o'clock every day for you, but
right.
Are you able to look at your calendar and say, all right, I think I can commit 9 o'clock today, and then next day you're like, I see what I have going on. Maybe I can commit 5 o'clock today for an hour to just really help that going from 100 to 0, 100 to 0, like at least 100 to 10%, 100 to 10%.
Right. I see what you're trying to do. I don't like that.
I didn't like it either. But I get so much more stuff done when I do it.
Yeah, no, I bet that is probably one hallmark of a very successful person. Yes, I can, because I mean, I was taking some accounting classes, and I dedicated myself to online classes at this time and this time, and actually did very well in that class because of that dedicated time. And yes, I can do that.
Make it simple. Like, make it so easy that like you go to bed and you're like, man, I am a terrible person for not spending 20 minutes committed to the thing, right? Like 20 minutes, like that's easy. An hour, it can be too much, right? 20 minutes every day.
For sure. For sure. Yes, of course. Of course I can do 20 minutes.
There you go.
Okay,
There you
I
go.
will. I'll do 20 minutes to start. And then, but see, that's the thing with once you're in it, you're in it. I'm going to go longer than 20 minutes.
But just make sure, because I see your pattern, right? 0 to 100, 0, 0 to 100. So just stop at 20 minutes. And then next day, right? And then next day, give yourself that time to breathe again.
Right.
So you're able to establish a pattern of work that is consistent every day.
Correct.
Try it.
I will try that. Obviously it's the thing to do.
All right, cool. So when should I follow up with you? In like 2 weeks to see how you're doing?
Sure. Yeah. 2 weeks. I will have, I don't know how I'm going to document that I did that, but I will be honest. So
there is a tally counter. You can just like type in tally counter on the internet, and it's just like a web app that comes up, and you could close it and it'll come back up and it'll say like 2 if you were on 2. So every day you just go and you're like, yep, poof, I spent my 20 minutes, or just write it down in your calendar, like smiley face. I did it.
Right. Okay. All right. I will tally it, or I will tally it on paper.
Give yourself stars every day. Put them. I know you got stars around your house somewhere. Star stickers.
Yeah, I actually do. Actually, like these right here.
Yeah. There you go. Every day on the calendar, I did it. Sticker.
Right. Good. Maybe they'll motivate me more than they motivate my children.
Maybe you'll start using them. You'll be like, hey, kids, look, I get a sticker every day. I do something that I told myself. And they're going to be like, ooh, I want a sticker too, Mom. What can I do?
For sure. Yes. And then when you get so many stickers, then you're allowed to do this other thing. Yeah. Do you have kids?
I don't.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Well, this has been a pleasure, Vanessa. I really appreciate it. And would you be okay if we put your contact information in the description of the video, so if people want to reach out, have any questions about what we talked about, they can reach out to you? Yeah,
for sure. I will text. It's on my Facebook. So if you can just like copy and paste my Facebook profile or something, that's where I hang out too much. So that's where people will definitely catch me.
Cool. All right, I'm going to end this. Just hang out, and we'll gather up some info and talk soon.
Thank you.